inside your bedroom. We stopped counting the days, lost in the rhythm. Physical silence, no need to speak a word. Lay here beside me. Don't wanna move too fast. Your lips on the floors, sipping on your love, sipping on your love. I never dared to ask if we're gonna last. I'm needing all your love, needing all your love. Oh, when you move, oh my God, you know you play your cards so right. Oh, I am a sucker for hearts, just in the dirty clubs and diamonds. Take me, oh my God, oh, but we'll hold our faces straight. Oh, I am a sucker for hearts, I'm a sucker for hearts. Your blood is pumping, I feel it in your veins, surfing your heat waves. Your taste is different, somehow it makes me brave. Chemical nature. Don't wanna move too fast. Your lips on the floors, sipping on your love, sipping on your love. Oh, when you move, oh my God, you know you play your cards so right. Oh, I am a sucker for hearts, just in the dirty clubs and diamonds. Take me, oh my God, oh, but we'll hold our faces straight. Oh, I am a sucker for hearts, I'm a sucker for hearts, hearts, hearts. I'm a sucker for hearts, hearts, hearts. I'm a sucker for hearts. Oh my God, I'm a fool. Thought I'd never fall into you. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's so cruel how I'm loving the things you do. Ooh, yeah. Oh, when you move, oh my God, you know you play your cards so right. Oh, I am a sucker for hearts, just in the dirty clubs and diamonds. Take me, oh my God, oh, but we'll hold our faces straight. Oh, I am a sucker for hearts, I'm a sucker for hearts, hearts, hearts. I'm a sucker for hearts, hearts, hearts. I'm a sucker for hearts. When I move too fast, your lips on the floors, sipping on your love, sipping on your love. I'm a sucker for hearts.
Hi, hello, welcome back to the live stream. We have been really consistent the last couple of weeks, so I am feeling really good about bringing my live streams back every week on Sunday nights. I have missed them so much, and they have been hugely productive. I forget just how productive I am during these live streams until I've recently come back to them. So I'm really excited to be reintroducing them again, and they've been real consistent. So we're finally getting on a schedule. So hello, everybody. Jessica says she's working on book 1 of my new series, currently 37K into it, hoping to finish chapter 13 tonight. That is awesome. If you guys didn't know, Jessica just had a book released, and it's amazing. I have read this book several times, actually, and every time I've read it, it's been better and better. I had the privilege of getting to work with her, and so this book was a lot of fun. So I think everybody should go and check it out. It's great. It's a contemporary romance. And I just love it. I think the message is great. So if you haven't checked it out, go and check it out. Thank you so much. It was a good time working with you, Jessica. I loved it. I'm so glad you allowed me to work on your book, because I know that getting feedback and stuff can be a scary thing. I actually haven't talked a lot about that kind of process from my side. I mention all the time, like sending my book out to my editor and that kind of stuff. But what it's like sending your work out to somebody who you know is going to, like, their whole purpose is criticizing it, and to some degree, like, finding all the things that could possibly be ripped apart about it. It is really nerve-wracking, and I haven't actually talked a ton about that kind of process. So maybe that's something for another video down the road. But yeah, I'm glad everyone is here. So Jessica's working on her new book. That is super exciting. And I think I already dropped in on the chat even. I am working on Curse of Blood and Sight. So last week, where did we leave off last week? Last week we were 27,000 words in. We are over the 30K mark now, but not by a whole lot. I also did stay up and write after last week's live stream, so I don't actually know how much of that was from the live stream. I do know that last week we got through some of the steamy bits. So that was fun, which is why I stayed up, because I didn't want to just leave the book where it was. And so I needed to get through that moment first and get all of that like tension and stuff out before I called it a night. That way I didn't have to wake up and refresh my memory and stuff, just be in the moment and finish the scene. So I'm right at the beginning of chapter 14. I am 30,299 words in. So we're getting a lot done. Jessica says, you were so productive last week. I was pretty productive last week. I also was copying and pasting from scenes I had already pre-written before I started writing this book. And so that also sped me up a ton. I think that's what it was. I'm remembering now. So a lot of stuff from last week I already had pre-written. So I was just importing it into draft one. That was part of it. Still counts. I counted it. I wrote it down in my weekly word count. It counts. So that is where I'm starting from. This last week, I did a little bit of writing at the beginning of the week, but not too much, a decent amount. But one goal I would really like to set for myself going into this week, I do have a lot of things going on. However, once the big thing, I'm taking one of my last LPC certification tests. And once that's out of the way, my workload, at least in that realm, drops significantly, and I get a little bit more time back to focus on some other stuff. I don't have to worry so much about my daily studying schedule. And so that test is early this week. It's on Tuesday. And so my goal for myself this week is to try and write as much as I can on this book, because I really would love to finish it up by the end of the month or close to, because at the end of the month, I get Trial of Flame and Wings back from my editor. And so as soon as it comes back to me, I'll switch gears back to editing that and getting the final draft prepped and ready. And then I need to start on final cover design elements. So I already have the Kindle book cover designed. That's already done, but I need to create the final wrap for the paperback version. So that is what I will do after I do editing. And so I would really like to dedicate more, once I get that book back and I start working on those final details, I would really like to be able to fully invest my time in that process and fully dedicate my time to the marketing of that book. And so it would help if I could finish or finish most of Curse of Blood and Sight before that happens. Usually in the past, at least, that has kind of been my writing schedule. I've been able to finish all of my drafts before the previous one comes back from the editor. So I get to stagger them all, and it's worked beautifully. But I've had enough stuff now going on in my life that takes like some mental space. So things like studying a lot. My son is in school, and so honestly, just like keeping track of school schedules and things, there's just a lot less mental space, I think, that sometimes I don't quite have the like really the emotional energy to dedicate to writing like I was previously doing. And so once things kind of even out and I don't have to worry as much about that kind of stuff, I think everything will fall back into place. But for now, I'm just a little bit behind what I'm used to, and I'm having to adjust just a little bit. So Jessica says, my goal is to finish this book by the end of the month too. Well, hopefully we can both do that. I am really, really hoping to finish mine. So let's see. It is, we've been chatting about 11 minutes. I think we are making good time to move to our first sprint of the night. I have my tea with me in my fancy mug tonight. I have my tea with me for a little pick me up of caffeine to kick off the session. Just a little, not too much though, or I'll be like jittery all night. So we're going to do first sprint of the night. So we'll go 25 minutes. So if you're new and you're just tuning in or watching the playback later, we do 25-minute sprints and we'll chat in between. We do 3. So I'm going to put the timer up on, where'd that go? There we go. Up on the screen. There won't be any kind of music or anything in this video just because I listen to my own. And so I don't worry about having anything actually in the video. So play what you would like. Tonight I am listening to my playlist that I put together. As I'm writing my books, I create a playlist for them. And so when I write in a series, I create it for the series, which I think is really fun because if you listen to it all the way through from beginning to the end, you can kind of see like inspiration for the book, and a lot of themes and stuff kind of fall into the music too. So it's really fun. So that is what I am listening to. I have my tea. We are starting. Maybe I should have put that in the chat. We are starting the night. Uh-oh. I am starting sprint number 1 at 30,299 words is what I believe it was. I think I lost my planner page. I think that's what happened. Where did it go? Oh no. Yep, 299 words. Okay. So that's where I am. We can put our timer back up. I think. Oh, that's what happened. I kicked the timer out. Aha. Now we've got it back up. Holy moly. Okay. I'm going to put my headphones on. We will get first sprint of the night going. And I will check back in with you guys in 25 minutes. All right. Happy sprinting. Hopefully it's productive for all of us. So sprint number 1 in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. All right. I got really into the scene, so I haven't tallied up my word count for that sprint. So how did everybody else do? How do we feel about the first sprint of the night? Let me know. Okay. So let's see. I actually did not get super far, as it turns out, which kind of makes sense. I had to reread a little bit of the previous chapter, and then I'm at kind of a point where I needed to do a little bit more research for setting purposes. So a good deal of Curse of Blood and Sight is set in New Orleans in Louisiana, and I've been there. It's been a very long time, but I have been there. I have hit the French Quarter and seen some of the sites down there, but I'm having to do a little bit more in-depth research into really just that area and things to make sure that I am like portraying it the best I can. And so that slowed me up a little bit because two of our characters are getting ready to go on kind of like I don't know what you'd call it. It's a girls' day is what it is. And so they're getting ready to just go out and enjoy time together, get to know each other. We're going to be introduced a little bit more to some backstory of one of our characters along the way here very shortly. And so I needed to like think ahead for that. So that slowed me up. But I did get 377 words written in the first sprint. Jessica said that she was jumping around a little, but got 400 words. That is awesome. We're all doing pretty good for the first sprint. I wrote 377 words in the first sprint. I'm very pleased with that. Considering everything I had to like do. I will say when I first wrote my word count down for this first sprint, I had to kind of remind myself that it's not going to be as large as anything I wrote in last week's live stream. Last week's live stream was kind of an anomaly. It was very different. That was the most I've ever written in one of these live streams. I don't think I even need to go look back to know for sure. So it was a little crazy last week. All of the steamy stuff was last week too, although we'll get to more of that in the future. But yeah, it was just, I don't know, a really big one last week. And so I had to remind myself when I first wrote down the word count tonight that this is normal for you and not to compare myself to last week. Felicia is here, got 120 in, going to push the second time. That's still really good, 120. If I'm being really meticulous and careful with my writing, that is a pretty good like sprint for me, 120 words. So I think that's a good count for sure. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm glad you could join. Felicia missed, I think the last two. I think it was. I don't know. I just know that Felicia had was very sweet and reached out on Instagram saying that she was hoping to get to the next live stream. So I was excited to see you pop in here, Felicia. Welcome. We're having a great time so far. Okay. So as far as like updates, book updates, I don't think I have any that are different from anything last week. I did have a better week, finally. If you haven't seen this week's vlog on YouTube, I did have a pretty big win this week. I was, I guess for like, to be super honest, I was knocked flat on my ass a couple weeks ago by one of the certification tests I had to take for my LPC license. It was the state test, and by far the test I have had to do the most studying for. Like I've had to spend the most time being really dedicated to has been my state certification test because it is strictly memorization. It is not like you don't get a case study where you get to apply knowledge. It's strictly memorization. And I just don't work well with that kind of black and white thinking, which is why I'm going to be a therapist and why I love writing and reading, because I love the gray areas. There's so much to be learned, and there's just so much storytelling that happens that is indirect, and context is everything. And this was not one of those tests. And so I struggled. So I actually failed it. And then I failed it again. I actually failed it twice I missed it this last week by 1 point. And so when I took it this last week in the vlog for this week, I nailed the crap out of it. I was so proud of myself. I know, because I looked it up, the question I missed had to do with people getting certified who are active military members, which is does not apply and never will to me. And so I can already tell that the questions I missed were things that just I will never have to worry about. And so I felt so good this last week to finally have that off my plate, finally have a win. And then I was able to really wrap my head around some changes in the marketing world for my books and stuff. And so it was just, I felt like I was finally getting somewhere. So I haven't written in a month. Felicia says she hasn't written in a month. I've been procrastinating. I'm rusty. It's a weird concept to be rusty as a writer. I think that totally happens. It's just not what a lot of people assume it means, because you think of being rusty as out of practice, usually for something physical. And so I know exactly what you mean, but it kind of gives me a giggle to hear it in the context. That's a really good way to put it, that you like the gray areas. That's usually the way I explain it to a lot of people when family members and close-ish friends who maybe they're not really readers. They're more black and white thinkers. There are some engineers and other people in my family that are in lines of works legal stuff. I have a highway patrolman in my family, for instance. So they work in fields where there's a clear defined boundary to things, and rules are there's rules and there's no exceptions. And your job is very clearly defined for you. And I just can't work that way. I need some kind of a job with a creative element. And that's another thing that's so great about therapy, and similar to writing. What you would bring to one client to address their problem. Say you have a client that's suffering with some pretty severe anxiety. A tool you might give to them, because it would work really well for them and does, probably wouldn't for your other client with anxiety. It's just it hinges on so many other factors. And I find that to be so true with writing and storytelling as well, and character development. We have all of these tropes, enemies to lovers is a really big one. I love enemies to lovers, but there is not a single enemies to lovers story, even if you're talking really, let's really pigeonhole this, enemies to lovers, Beauty and the Beast retelling, they're all different. And so it's just so funny that you can start with the same template, and it doesn't matter. You're inserting enough nuanced and small differences that it's going to be totally different, and the experience is going to be different. So I just love that kind of work. And I think we've got really far off topic. I don't know, but that's the best way I describe it to people. Is I like to work in the gray areas. I don't like things to be black and white, and it's not because I don't want to follow rules or I'm not capable of meeting expectations. It's that I want the flexibility to be able to meet them in ways that work for me, to showcase my skills best, to utilize what I'm good at, but also to help fit whoever I'm helping, and whoever I'm writing for, or It's just easier to meet it's easier to meet expectations when things are a little bit in the gray area because you can adjust them better. Well, more allowance there. All right. And then you have to turn mom. Yes. Yes. So Felicia and I are both parents. I forget how old your daughter is, Felicia. I know that your kids are yours is older than mine. Mine's 5 now. But when they're younger, I think at all, like grade school age especially, there's just so much more involved. As they get older, they can start to at least keep track of their own schedules. But the mental load for me of keeping track of the weekly classroom newsletter and just all the details of things coming up, it takes up more space in my brain than you would think, just to keep track of like this week is all the Easter stuff. So just to keep track of, oh my goodness, I have Easter eggs now, but I need to buy candy to put in the Easter eggs, and they have to go on Monday morning because she wants them on Monday morning. But the Easter egg hunt is not until Thursday, and it's at 9 o'clock, and parents can come if they want to, but it has to be close to 9 because it's a whole web of stuff, that you have to keep track of. And yes, we put it all on a calendar and everything, but when you're running around with kids like crazy all the time, sometimes things just have to happen organically. Like yesterday, I picked up the candy for the Easter eggs because Finn and I went to the bookstore and there happened to be a Dollar General right next door. So it worked out. And if I hadn't had all this information stored in my brain, then I would have to be really intentional with my schedule. So it's just, I don't know. I know what you mean about turning the mom brain off. Oh my gosh. Okay, Felicia says 8. So a little bit older than mine. But yes, I feel like 7 and 8 is an age where kids especially are starting to kind of figure out themselves separate from their parents. They get a little bit more personality. They start to, I think, develop more of an identity of likes and interests and things. And the social life becomes such a thing. And that is another thing to keep up with. Oh my gosh. Yes, Walmart delivery will save your life and make it so much easier. Yes, we do a Walmart delivery order every single week. And we order it's a lot of the same stuff we're keeping at our house, but we'll make the list the night before. That's part of what Alex and I do at Date Night In. Usually we enjoy some drinks together, watch a movie or something. And then when Finn goes to bed, we start reviewing the week. Okay, what do we have to do? What do we need on the Walmart order that's not a normal thing we just always add? So yes, the candy was something on the order list, and because I picked it up, we took it off. But yes, Walmart delivery is great. Oh my gosh, because I'm that person that I walk every aisle at Walmart and pick up all the wrong things and forget the things I needed. So I'm thankful for that because it takes a lot of the indecisiveness and such out of the element for me. All right. I think we need to jump into sprint number 2. So don't forget to hit like below if you haven't. I always say like and subscribe, but I always forget that YouTube also has a feature down there next to it, the bell icon, which notifies you usually via email or on your phone. If you have YouTube on your phone, it'll send you a notification when videos and things go live. So if you are somebody that would like to be notified when these live streams go up, that way you don't have to worry about remembering yet another thing. I know you're just talking about that. You can turn that on and it will let you know when something is scheduled to go live. And a lot of times it'll let you know hours in advance. So if you're running around and doing some of the oddball, around the house stuff, just whatever needs to get done, the loose ends. If you're like me and you're tying up loose ends on a Sunday, then you won't miss the live stream because you'll get notified throughout the day. All right. So sprint number 2. I'm excited because we're getting ready to jump into our adventure with my 2 characters. So I'm getting ready to dive a little bit deeper into character stuff. And that's one of my favorite things to write is character building. So I am excited. All right. So 25 minutes is up on our screen. We will come back and chat in a little bit. Hopefully we've all warmed up and we'll get even more words written in sprint number 2. All right. I'll see you guys in 25, 3, 2, 1, sprint. Woo! I kind of lost track of time there. Oh my gosh. Everything happened all at once. All my music reset. Oh my gosh. Oh, my goodness. You guys are having a great time in the chat. Yeah, I definitely lost track of that one. Felicia said that one was a lot better. Wow, 800 words? Oh my gosh. My two love interests just met for the first time. Wow. That's huge. That's a really big moment, too. So usually those are the times when I like my writing slows down. My sprints will be shorter, or I won't get as much written during them because I end up being like super careful about what I'm writing. But holy moly, that is a lot. So go you. Oh my gosh. 383 for Jessica. That's awesome. Holy moly. We are all on a roll now. I haven't actually tallied my count because everything was going on at the same time. I'm getting to a really good point in the chapter 2. There's a lot of like dialogue in this section because we're getting to know new characters. There's a little bit of banter. So it's been good. I wrote 651 in that sprint. So that's actually like a normal sprint for these live streams for me. Felicia said, I don't edit when I write. I have found that I can't. I just correct, and then I get overly anxious. So I write and then get edits days in later. That's how I do too. I just draft the entire book. I wouldn't say I like fully pants it. I definitely do a bit of outlining, but sometimes I don't know the full scope of my outline until I start writing. And so the smaller details come out of the woodwork as I write. Whereas like I'll have the big plot points mostly outlined before I start. So I'm the same way. I can't edit as I go either. I do have another friend though. I don't think she's in our live stream this week, but she was last week. She edits as she writes. I think she actually writes like a chapter at a time, and then we'll go back and look at the previous day's work and edit it before she moves on. And I find that fascinating. I just love to see how everybody else works. I just think it's so cool because there's a lot of things that I've learned and I've like stolen for my own toolkit. And there's a lot of things that I've tried and also just don't work for me. And that's what I love because they're all things that like your English teacher in school or even some authors will say that you really should do in order to write like a good book. And I just don't believe that anymore. I think everybody has a different process and they do things a certain way because it fits best for them. So I just love to hear the quirky things, how everybody else does it. Yeah, I'm definitely a planter. So I do the Dan Brown 7-point plot method, but I usually don't finish the final 2 plot points, usually the resolution. I don't always know how to wrap things up or how they'll wrap up. I know like the gist of it, but I couldn't tell you like the plot point. It's just not, I don't know. Half of the fun to me is seeing how we get there. That's just how I feel about things in general. That's kind of my attitude for life too. The amount of run-on sentences I have is ridiculous. Oh my gosh, I've definitely found that too. When I was reading back before we started on the first sprint, when I was reading to like refamiliarize myself, I already found like duplicated words and sentences that didn't fully make sense. So I did do a little bit of editing as I was doing that, but I don't typically edit when I write. It's a rarity thing for me. Jessica says my characters are on their first date. Oh, that's the sweetest. I love that. Huh. And it's so your newest book is a contemporary romance. Gotta love it. Oh, and Jessica has to head out for the night. We will see you next week because Jessica's usually with me for live streams every week. So we will see you next week. Oh, I do. I love Jack Kerouac. I learned then and there that everyone does things their own way, and someone out there will like it. Yes. I've also found that. I really enjoy Jack Kerouac, actually. I haven't read anything in a while, though. That's been a long time for me. I think I was in high school. Yeah, I was probably in high school. I read a lot of classics when I was in high school just on my own. In addition to like the stuff you read in school, I can remember all of the books I read in school for my English classes. But in addition to that, I read other books just because I was young enough in like my writing development that I kind of had this idea that the more classics I read, the better I would be. And I don't think that's I don't think that's true at all. I think there are probably authors out there that are hugely successful who have not read very many of them at all. But it's kind of fun to not just read the stories, but then read about the authors and like just the development of craft throughout history is just really interesting in the publishing industry, like printing press and like how that all developed is interesting. Yeah, I think I was in high school. I don't remember what year. I think it was probably closer to graduation when I read it. I think. I don't know. I will say that some of the classics that, at least in school, that just everybody adored, like the books that everybody liked. Like a lot of people dread Shakespeare and they dread like the Scarlet Letter. And some of those books, I love those, by the way, but a lot of people dread reading that in school. But there are a few books they read for school that they just adore. And those were the books I didn't enjoy as much. And I still don't fully understand what it was I didn't like about them. I don't know. But those were the ones I didn't enjoy as much. Oh, you read Kafka. I have not read any of that. I was in a weird phase. I think we all were at some point in high school. I definitely, probably about the time I was reading Jack Kerouac, was kind of into my whole emo phase in high school, except I wasn't allowed to dye my hair. And so it was just me wearing, like, trying to piece together outfits and do as much like makeup as I could, even though my parents hated it. So I had to kind of like toe the line and wear like just enough heavy eyeliner that it wouldn't drive them nuts. Um, but I definitely had that classic 2000s emo thing going on with like the pop of color and like the like teased hair and stuff. I loved that. And my style is still kind of eclectic in that way. I would say it's kind of like an Avril Lavigne vibe. I like pops of color with a bit of edge to it. I still like that. I like a real cutesy dress with a leather jacket tossed on top. That kind of stuff. So I haven't fully escaped that realm of my life. I'm sure that it was just me developing my sense of self, and that's really what that time was. But man, what a wild ride. Hawthorne, but believe it or not, I've never read Shakespeare. Oh, The Tempest is a pretty good one. The ones that they put in all of the classes and the ones they talk about the most are his tragedies. And I do like Shakespeare's tragedies. However, his comedies they're so slept on. They're so funny. In my college Shakespeare class, was it Much Ado About Nothing that we read? Which one was it? Wasn't Much Ado About Nothing. Man, it's the one I'm gonna remember the title, but it's the one where um we've got these princesses. There's the princess and like her handmaids, and this prince is coming over because they're kind of expecting them to be married. And so he comes over with his like guards and stuff, and they all end up like together and like pairing off. And there's a lot of really raunchy humor for Shakespeare. I'm talking like, man, we make jokes about Sarah J. Maas mentioning the sheathing of the sword at every turn. The number, it's in there. It's in Shakespeare talking about sheathing the sword. To be PG for the internet, but his comedies are really good. And it's funny because like you can read them now with a modern eye and they stand up to they stand up. They're funny still and still raunchy. And then it's funny. In college I got to see we read it in Shakespeare class mostly because the arts department at the school I was at, they were putting on or they were bringing in like a troupe and they did a modernized version of that play. And that was so much fun because the jokes, it was all like modernized. It's so it was raunchy by our standards. It was really good. Ooh, see, I haven't read all of Jane Austen's stuff. I think I've seen every rendition of Pride and Prejudice. I read Pride and Prejudice and I do like all of the renditions of it and all of the inspiration that people have taken from it. I haven't read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I've heard that it's actually a pretty good book. Alex and I we bought it my family has a cabin and up in the mountains. And it's enough in the mountains that even now you don't get cell phone signal, you don't get internet, you don't get any of that stuff. It's just enough off grid. And so there's an old style TV there with like the bunny ears and everything, the antennas. And the only thing media you can really access, like digital media that's not a book, is the DVD player. So there's not internet, there's like electricity and stuff, but you're not going to get any kind of internet. And so there's a DVD player. And so we stopped on the way up to the cabin one time and we got Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, the movie, for like $5 at a Dollar General. And that movie was fun. I kind of enjoyed it. It was a fun take on the whole classic story. So I kind of missed the boat on that. I was in college really busy when everyone in authordom and in the writing sphere was doing all of those fairy tale and classical retellings. And I loved them. And there's still some really good ones out there that are being written now that are new, but I kind of missed that whole thing. But I love that kind of stuff. The modernization of those kinds of stories. It's really fun. All right. We probably should move into I could go on and on. This is why we chat in between and why we like time stuff out a little bit. Productivity sprints, writing sprints like this are hugely helpful to me, keeping me like feeling fresh and still keeping productive, especially for things like those boring tasks. I have enough ADHD that if a task isn't either so monotonous that I can't zone out and put my brain in a different space, or it isn't super engaging, then I don't want to do it. So things like cleaning the house that already feel like a big project, I use productivity sprints for because otherwise I don't think I could make myself do it. Quite honestly, don't think it would ever get done and that would not be good. So last sprint of the night, we have 25 minutes up on the clock. It's our final one, and then we will all come back together, wrap up for the night, and get ready for a really amazing week because we're all going to do great things this week. I know it. I feel it. It's going to be a good week. So last sprint, 25 minutes on the clock. I promise I have the timer turned up this time, so I'm not going to miss it. So here we go. 25 minutes, 3, 2, 1, sprint. All right, I didn't forget the timer this time. Oh, okay. At some point near the end of that sprint, something got like brushed into my eye and it really slowed me down at the end there. I only wrote 347 words in the final sprint. So not as much as I was hoping to. Definitely my slowest of the night. And usually it's the opposite way. It like goes upward. So it is what it is. And I still made progress. I got a lot further. I got over 1,000 words for the night. So the final count is 1,375 words for the live stream, which is some great progress. I'm really happy with that. So yeah, 1,000 words. If I can hit 1,000 words when I sit down to write, that's awesome. And that's pretty normal too for me. So I'm happy with it. I do think I am going to do a little bit more writing. I don't know. I want to stay up just a little bit longer. There's a little bit more I want to do. So I may add more words to my draft before the night ends. I also want to lay out things and get better prepped for tomorrow. So that's something I want to do to get a little bit better prepped for tomorrow and planned out. And I also would kind of like a snack. So I think I'll have a late night snack too. So that's pretty much it for me. Felicia said she's just finished writing and she's going to go ahead and head to bed. So I think it's a good time to wrap up. It is getting kind of late. And by this last sprint, people do kind of trickle out of the live stream. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm always super happy to have you guys. Again, we'll do this again next Sunday. So make sure that you're looking for it. Turn on the bell notification on my YouTube channel so you get notified whenever I post new videos and things like my live streams go live. So that way you won't miss out on any of our next ones. So hopefully it'll be a great week for everybody. And I hope to see you guys next week. Read books, be kind. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Oh my God.